People who have acted in PRN, what's the worst thing that's happened on set? I've answered a similar question a long time ago. But I dated a guy who was a cameraman for PRN in the pre-condom days in LA. There was an actor who became infected with HIV in Brazil or something. I think the law was actually in place because of him, and managed to infect a number of female actresses. The guy I was dating talked about one of the films he was on with her where she had just finished a scene and was sitting around smoking with some of the crew, laughing and shooting the shit, not realizing at the time that she was HIV positive. Probably not what you were looking for, but pretty sobering IMHO. Does everyone work for a small fetish company? High school friend was the brother of Vivid owner Steve Hirsch. They had a rule internally that if you slept with any of the talent you were immediately fired. My friend was fired. He ended up marrying the girl. Still fired. Not acting but producing. I run a small fetish production company. Anyway, I was in the middle of filming when a phone started going off. The model, who was at the time fully restrained, bonded shoot, starting saying it was hers and she needed to answer it. I had to answer it and hold it up for her. She had a brief conversation, then said she had to be untied. No problem. Although we are in the middle of shooting, I am not going to say no. I ask her if there is a problem as she is getting dressed thinking she is leaving for some kind of emergency and she says no. No big deal. My dealer is just here. She ran out while I was in shock and came back 2 minutes later with baggies asking if I wanted to share. I cannot and will not film with illegal substances on set. So that killed the whole shoot. She had called her dealer for delivery before she came in, figuring why the heck not, and given him the address for the shoot. I was expecting our edits Musimo filth and instead I am getting our Talis from tech support. Oh man. This one poor F-Karai did a scene with thought it would be a good idea to inject something into his dick to stay hard. It was a good scene. Went well and all that. But he was hard before we started and it didn't go down after. Well. I wished him luck and went on my way. Got a text from the director the next day saying it hadn't gone down. He'd had to go to the hospital to get it drained. Didn't work right for a good while after that and he had to cancel a month's worth of shoots. Why would you inject drugs into your dick? I have worked for a good friend's small fetish company. Nothing bad ever happened on set. The most awkward was a male model I was working with had the owner ask me if I really orgasmed with him. Apparently I fake it really well. That's kind of cute that he asked. The acting. This isn't the beach. This is a bathtub. Female PRN star here. The only awful thing that has happened on set during one of my shoots was a face full of urine. I was doing a girl-on-girl scene with an actress that shall remain nameless. During filming, she suddenly declared I'm a squirter and aggressively pissed in my face mouth. I know the difference between female ejaculate and piss. It didn't help that she was dehydrated and her wee smelled like something you'd buy to repel deer from your garden. Told this story a couple of years ago under a different username. I went to NYU in the late 80s. Freaky gay scene in Nick back then and I was the consummate twink. A bartender I liked because he gave me free drinks hooked me up with a guy named Arnie who I'd seen at a few clubs. I just figured Arnie was a troll who lured young guys with cash and coke, but he also was tied into the PRN business as a recruiter producer. After a few weeks the money got good enough for me to relent and agree to do a scene. I showed up and it turned out to be a biker RP flick with two big rough looking bear types. I wound up getting plowed by these guys in the roughest way possible and I was too scared to quit once it got out of hand. Spent 2 weeks recovering. Friend who was in some amateur stuff basically said there are lots of smells. Came for funny stories. 3 minutes later. I've been in 3 small production PRNs. Nothing too weird has happened, but it's really embarrassing when you pop a bunch of Viagra type pills and you can't get hard. People staring at you diddling yourself watching PRN on your phone so they can start filming again. There was so much anxiety involved. In a perfect world you could get erect and stay that way. But it's not realistic. Being turned on is easy. Forcing yourself to be turned on is a whole different challenge. The lights all died every 10 minutes for 5 minutes because the generator was too weak to run all of the lights. It was annoying as hell to deal with. Till that cocaine is very common on set. I do have something that used to happen after almost every shoot. Which was not a bad thing. I worked for a small fetish company. The owners were a married lesbian couple. If we did a shoot over the weekend, they would invite their female friends for a sleepover. It would turn into an all-female orgy. The most women we had there at one time was 11. Including myself. The best part was that all of the women that attended were gorgeous. Great personalities as well as physically stunning. I moved back to Massachusetts 5 years ago. This took place in South Florida. I have been flown down twice to shoot since I moved. To this day they get requests from customers to have new clips shot with me. You know the juiciest comments are about Shannon Rose on YouTube is an ex-PRN star and she has a lot of videos on her time in the industry. One time I was sitting on set and this girl with a huge ass came by me and proceeded to let out this giant wet fart. It was pretty gross and I am pretty sure she had just done an enema, so the smell was pretty bad. She gives me a wink and asks, "Wanna be at your turn after I get done?" I was in shock and that was the last and only day I set. I learned my lesson. Writing erotic fanfic for sure. I can't make heads or tails of this comment. I came in a dude's butt on accident. One of my employees is a former PRN star. Haven't delved into too many old stories other than girls doing acid in a Vegas hotel room while waiting to go to the awards. They were all under 21 at the time so they couldn't do much in Vegas. So of boredom they all did acid and eventually FK'd each other. Paging you Alice Sasovich. Hahaha hey guys. Okay I've read a bit now. Anyway. My worst moment so far was probably right before my NL scene with Danny D. His wife was helping me douche my asshole and I asked her quite innocently how she manages to do an L with him and she looks me dead in the eye and tells me how she would never do that and that I am in fact mad. Never felt more alone lol. I am not a PRN star but my mailman has this dog that looks like a Great Dane which reminds me of Danish people who are blonde, and this one blonde guy was a lighting tech for a company that was a few blocks away from where this prostitute lived who once was in a film with a gay autistic Jewish coal miner, and he said that once on a PRN set there was drugs. You'll never believe this shitty. This chick frosted me like a F-king cake.